So, some really good convos at halftime. I'm really happy with some things that I've been able to say to people and some people have been able to say to me. Really special, so thank you for that. Let's get on to the most effective way that I know, and I've tested and it's true, for you to be able to build your business and stand out, and that is storytelling. And better storytelling. I bang on a lot about storytelling, mostly because the majority of Australians who are in small business suck at it. We are terrible at it. There's something very un-Australian about standing up in front of a crowd or the world and saying, I'm really good at this, whatever this is for you. I'm really good at this. The people who I employ to sell this, they're really good too. My prices are the price because it's the price and I'm not going to waver from it. Because it's the right price and the product is really good, and that we think those people are wankers, right? But I work with a lot of North Americans, and no offence to any North Americans in the crowd, but North Americans are not encumbered by this. Don't feel this is a burden to not be able to say what they're good at, or what they do, or to tell the story of their brand, or tell the story of their branded life. It's very easy for them, and I just think it's something I wish we were better at. I wish there wasn't that kind of wanker mask element of being able to say, I'm really good at this. Because we all know, everybody in this room knows how hard it is to build whatever it is you've built or whatever it is you are building. It didn't just happen. Everybody out there thinks that everybody in here has bought themselves a job, right? You hear this all the time. Or you just go on holidays all the time, or you just surf, or you just play golf all the time, and having a business must be easy. Like, having staff must be easy. Like, that's really easy. Having people relying on you, you're paying their mortgage, that must be a breeze. It's not, right? But everyone out there thinks everyone in here is doing it really easy, and we know better. And I think we need to tell that story better. So I want to just sit on storytelling for a little bit, because I feel like we're not very good at it. And the first thing I want to talk about is visual storytelling. So, excuse me. So the way that we tell the story in images and video and imagery. Remember I was talking about stopping the scroll, right? Stopping the thumb, and you've got less than a second to do so. If you're looking at your Twitter timeline or your Facebook newsfeed and you see this post, can everyone see that version of it? Now you tell me, if you see this in your feed, are you more likely to not only stop and read it, but to share, which is the big currency, particularly on Facebook? Are you more likely to share that or that? Like, it's a no-brainer, right? It's the visual thing is what we love. Because the truth of it is that you can say, oh, we're time poor and we're this and we're that. I think we're actually getting a bit dumber. If yesterday proved anything to us, we are getting a bit dumber. But we need not to be challenged. We need to be rewarded with simple imagery that gets us in and then buys you the next thing. So if you've got the stopping the scroll, that stops and buys you another 2 seconds, maybe, to then tell the story in the caption or whatever. Can you see what I mean? But the first version, you would just scroll past. So that's the first thing, is the use of imagery, right? Because on Facebook, this is true on Facebook, not necessarily on everything else, but on Facebook, a post, if you talk about organic reach, so reach, how many people see your post without you paying Facebook to promote it. Currently, when I was at Facebook, it was about 16 to 22% of your fans would potentially see your content on Facebook without you paying. Right? So only 1 in 5, less. Currently, that's about 2%. So if you've got 100 fans on your Facebook page, only 2 of them are seeing your content without you paying. Now, this is definitely not for outside this room, right? But in about March next year, at the end of Q1 next year, that number will be 0. Right? So you have to start thinking now, if you want to use Facebook as a channel to promote your business, you need to think now about having a budget and a plan for how you're going to use that. Now, I don't mean $1 million budget, I mean a $5 budget, or whatever is in your means, actually. Whatever you get 5x ROI from. So, because they're not going to spread it anymore, you have to make sure that your content is share-worthy, because that will bypass the algorithm altogether, and you need to make sure that you have some idea of how much you can spend each day, each week, each month to promote some content on Facebook to more people. Now, I want to tell you something, the truth about all that. The truth about organic reach is this, and no one will tell you this because basically no one really knows it. And there's a whole lot of bullshit conjecture, but this is the truth of it. On Facebook, the user base is growing, and it still is growing at about 30% quarter on quarter. So every quarter, there's 30% growth, right? This is incredible when you think there's already, almost 2 billion people using it. It's still growing massively. More and more of those people are creating pages. So there's more and more pages being set. More and more of those people are liking pages, and we don't unlike them. So for the average user in Australia, there's about 90 stories in your feed in a day. In a 24-hour period, you'll be served, on average, 90 stories. If you're a bit of a power user like me, you get much more. If you're my dad, you probably gets 9. And probably doesn't know what they are about. But excuse me. But every 9th one, more or less, is paid content or pages content. So the other 8 are, Mary Smith showing Jenny the new baby or whatever, or Dicko's surfing pictures of his surf tracker, which I think is amazing. Or whatever, that person-to-person stuff, right? But every 9th one is pages content. Now, that means there's an inventory of 10 pages spots per user on average per day. But there's more and more people joining the platform. There's more and more people liking pages. We don't unlike them. And there's more and more people creating pages. So that inventory is just shrinking. Which means that pages inserts, every 9, used to be a free hit. Facebook would go, there's a 9th one coming up. This isn't quite how it happens, but there's a 9th one coming up. We'll chuck Karen's thing in there because she posted something and it's share-worthy. But now the paid content has taken all those spots. The inventory has shrunk so much that there'll be no free ones anymore. So that's the truth. Nobody tells you the truth about it, but that is the actual truth. Now, that's one side. So the other side of it is, we're done. We're finished. We can't, they're ruining us, whatever. But the upside of it is that it's now created a completely level playing field for everybody. Because if Coca-Cola, which has hundreds of millions of fans and dollars, if they want to reach 22-year-old females who live in Thirroul, and they want to spend $50 to do that, and you want to reach 23-year-old females who live in Thirroul, and you spend $50, you'll reach the same people. So it actually levels the playing field for everyone by making everyone pay something. Now, you don't have to be $50. It can be $5. It can be $1. But you need to think about Facebook as a publisher from this day on because you need a head start against everybody else in the Illawarra and wider who's also going to be competing for that inventory, that shrinking inventory. Does everyone get what I mean by that? Yeah. Facebook doesn't want you to do that, not because they want you to pay, but because they want that completely separated. 2 things. As you intimated, you don't have the same functionality on your profile. You can't reach as many people. There's a limit to how many friends you have, but there's no limit to how many fans you can have on a page. Facebook wants you to keep the page and pay because they want that thing very separate. They don't want Jenny Smith to stop sharing baby photos with Mary because that's actually what Facebook is for. And the only people who complain about organic reach on Facebook is us. The users, they'd be happy if they never saw another ad ever on Facebook, right? So I don't think it will because I've got to be really careful about if the video wasn't running, it'd be much easier, but there's changes potentially coming to your profile that will make it almost impossible for you to promote your business on your profile. These 2-year NDAs are no good, I can tell you. But you don't want to do that anyway. I totally get you. I get it. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Right. Glad you asked. So sharing, first of all, if someone comes to your page, which no one ever does, by the way, 6% of anyone who knows your business on Facebook has actually seen your Facebook page. They all see your inserts of the stories in their feed, but they never come to your page. So what I try and do, which is a bit of a ninja tip, what I try and do is send people to the page. Because when they go to the page, you've bypassed the algorithm. Plus, they'll see everything you've posted in the order that you've posted it. So that's kind of the first thing. The sharing thing, sharing is, as a currency, sharing is much more powerful than likes and comments on Facebook right now, for that very reason. Because if I share your stuff, if you've somehow got me to your page and I share something from your page, the algorithm has no control over that whatsoever. Also, if then Karen shares my share of yours, the algorithm equally doesn't have anything. So you want to create share-worthy content, yeah. Facebook will never, never say never, but Facebook should never restrict the sharing capability of any post, because that's actually what holds the integrity of the platform together. Yeah. From an advertiser and a user point of view. I didn't mean that to be so doomsday. I meant that to be kind of uplifting, but it didn't come out that way. So I can answer some more questions at the end about that if there is any, or hit me up as you know. All right. So, excuse me. So, a few other kind of storytelling things that I think work. This old journalism adage of show, don't tell definitely works. You know, it comes down to, I'm trying to sell you how many buttons are on this thing instead of, showing you what it might do for your life. But it's also using the shark instead of the four long sentences and the hashtag. Like, I want to know, and news services, TV news services are very, very good at this. To go into a Trump rally, so if they're going to cross to a reporter at a Trump rally, he's not standing down the street in the Starbucks. He's in the middle of the craziness, because that shows you what it's really like. And I feel like the more we can do that with our own business, the better we can actually tell people. Even if it comes down to, you sitting on a beach in Bermuda, showing what your business is or what it's done for you and your family instead of telling. It sounds simple, right? But we don't really do that much. Second thing is, people look where they're told to look. We're simple creatures. So if you want to tell your business story, you can tell them around obstacles or around things that you don't necessarily want them to be part of. If you take over a business that has a really bad reputation for customer service, you can address that head on and say, it's under new management now, we know they used to suck at that, we're going to be better at it. Or you can just take people around it altogether, because some people might not know that they were terrible. So people look where they're told to look, and that comes down to the web design and how your interface looks to the world as well, how your shopfront online looks to the world. If you can't find your buy now button, or if your buy now button is red, people are being told where to look, or not where to look. So think about that in your story as well. Despite how you might feel the world is right now, humans, are much more hardwired for empathy than we are for love and hate. Black and white, good and bad, us and them. It does your brand and no brands any favour to say, this is what I do, she does it too, but hers suck. That used to help, right? That used to be how you'd sell. That's how Pepsi and Coca-Cola became Pepsi and Coca-Cola. But now it doesn't. And it's much better for us to say, yep, she does that, she does what we sell too, and they seem to be really good. But I just want to tell you about how mine is going to change your life. Because everyone knows she does it. Right? To not address it is bullshit. And you're just like, well, what about hers? Oh, yeah. So get people on the middle ground. Don't make it adversarial, because people want the empathy. And despite what you might think about how the world is right now, people still want empathy. And I know that because every time I tell all of my nitty-gritty stuff, I get empathy. I don't get weirdo or give me a cuddle like I need to cry on you right now. I don't get those extremes very much. I mostly just get, oh, thanks for telling me that. Right? So that's how I think we should think about it in our storytelling too. Politicians certainly know this one, that we are far more affected by brands and logos and messages when we are emotional about them. Mostly scared and sad, but also happy works pretty well as well. So I don't suggest you all get up from here and leave and go and make everyone scared or sad. But there's always an emotional trigger. There's always the emotional hook that makes it back on me and about my children and about my partner and about my health and my sanity and my whatever. There's always that hook. You know, Coca-Cola have only ever used two main words in their branding as themes. Does anyone know what they are? Enjoy was one. No. Happy. Happy and enjoy. Very subliminally, if you drink Coca-Cola, you will be happy. And you will enjoy whatever you're doing. And it's always, the enjoy part was then always linked to a group of people. So you can't enjoy Coca-Cola on your own. You can only enjoy it in a group. Therefore, you must buy 6 bottles, not 1. That's the underlying psychology of everything Coca-Cola's done. Yeah, absolutely. Best, most simple. A marketing intern at Coca-Cola in Atlanta came up with that. A kid who was doing his summer internship, and he said, you should put everyone's names on it. People went, oh my God, that's fucking genius. I think he got a job. People are lazy, right? Don't put friction in front of people giving you their money. Don't make them sign up for the blog before you'll show them the product or take their money, right? If someone's purchase ready, get the hell out of the way and let them pay, right? People are lazy, make it easy. And I think you've still got to rely and think about structure in your story, right? I want to give you 2 examples. First one is going to make Dicko very, very happy. Does anyone not know what this is? Everyone knows, everyone shares the same misery, right? Everyone knows what this is. Okay. So, Frozen is a storytelling phenomenon for many, many reasons. But mostly, it's because of the storytelling structure that sets it apart. For instance, this is a Disney film. Right? Disney, the history of Disney is telling stories that are very anti-female. Right? Yet, the 2 most powerful characters in Frozen are female. And they're related. Okay, they're princesses. We can't totally get away from that, but you know, it's still better than having the females have no power. The worst story that we can possibly tell our little girls, our daughters, by miles, is The Little Mermaid. Disney film, Hans Christian Andersen's story. The story says that as a girl, as a female, you'll never be anything unless you get married. A. You'll never be anything unless you marry a man. B. Already the unconscious bias is so keeping on our little girls, right? Not only that, no man wants to marry you unless you completely change yourself for him. Including, stop being a mermaid and start being a human. Who the fuck wants to stop being a mermaid? What the? But that's the only way our little girls are going to be happy. And we tell them that story and then tuck them into bed. Sweet dreams, you persecuted little oppressed fuck. Like, it's a terrible, terrible story. And who hasn't told their children that story, their daughters that story? My daughter loves that story. I'm like, no, love this. I need a little hug, you know? Like, no, now I need who's giving out hugs? I need one of those hugs. So that's the first thing. Oh, and the other thing is, Disney hates women because every other story apart from this and one other which is Brave, every other story, the the characters with power are men or male, right? The evil villains are always women. It's always a wicked stepmother or an evil witch, right? Yet in this one, the baddie is a dude. This fella is, in every other Disney story, he'd be the hero, this dopey bugger. But in this one, he's not. He's not required for the happy ending because she works out that it's the love of her sister that she wants, not the love of a dude. Very un-Disney. And this little weird contraption, who's kind of the Jar Jar Binks of Frozen for the Star Wars fans, you wonder all through, like, God, he's annoying. Why is that little fucker in this movie? It's horrible. But he's actually the thing that ties it all together because he's the one who tells her it's the love of your sister you need, not old mate. Run the other way and you'll be okay, right? So in so many ways, the storytelling structure for forever is broken in this piece of fantastic storytelling. But let me show you another thing they use, which is story arcs. So story arcs are kind of ways that you can weave a tapestry of a story together by telling different stories on top of other stories. So I've just put the timeline of Frozen there. Can everyone see with some significant events through it, right? So the ice to the head incident, the parents drowning, the coronation day when she goes mental and starts shooting ice out. She hits her sister in the heart and starts to kill her. Hans is exposed as a douchebag, and then she chooses to love her sister and the happy ending, right? So if you then overlay the story arcs of Frozen on top of that, this is the way it looks. The interesting thing about this, broken down by character, the interesting thing about this is if you'd never seen Frozen, God, in my dreams, but if you'd never seen Frozen, then you would know that these two characters, Elsa and Anna, are obviously pretty tight until something happens, one goes mental, and they split up here, and then they're back together at the end for the happy ending. That story arc runs through, right? Then you can see Hans is not in it at the start. He comes in here, you think he's okay, no he's not, he's a jerk off, and then he's out of it before the ending, which facilitates the happy ending. You can see that he's not in there. Kristoff, who would be the hero, is in it at the start and he's kind of a story arc that ties all the way through. And he's in the ending, but he's not required for it. And then the weird little snowman is the thing that ties it all together. So why am I showing you that in relation to your business, apart from just showing you how often I have to look at Pixar films? This is a 6-week, 42-day timeline leading into an event in your business, a milestone in your business. So for the sake of this exercise, I'm going to say this is a 6-week lead into ABC Boutique opening a second store, bricks and mortar store, right? So the planning and the marketing and the storytelling of that, you don't just do the day before you open the door. You do it 6 weeks out. And I'll show you how. So this first yellow one is and we're just going to say it's Twitter accounts, right? This is the Twitter account of the ABC Boutique. So 6 weeks out, we start talking about getting a new store. We're looking at all the real estate agents, and they're all been, Gino's the best one so far, but we can't get hold of him because he's in Bermuda. And so we found a place, and we're doing all right. And okay, we're fitting it out now. We're pretty excited. It's going to open tomorrow, and it's right up to the end of the day. So you can see every day at the end there's a tweet, right? So that's one story arc. The next one then is Mary Jones, who owns the boutique. So she tweets every few days, pretty sparingly, about how they've got a new store. She's pretty pumped. It opens in a few days. We've fitted it all out. We've got a manager. It opens tomorrow. We're excited. The next one is then Jenny Smith, and she works in the boutique. So Jenny's not going to go, oh, I love this place. I can't tweet about it enough. Super. Like, it's not very authentic, right? So she tweets kind of sparingly. But she also tweets every few days. A week goes past there, another big week. And she opens the store tomorrow. She's the manager, and she's pumped about it. We're opening tomorrow. Through all that, then, is the Olaf of just retweets and ad hoc engagement that tie every part of the story together. And then the last thing you might do is drop in some blog posts or something from a different channel every, say, on the week, and then at the end, a bit more prolific and opening tomorrow. So, can you guys see how you might plan your storytelling in this way too? Where, for instance, Sharon and Kelly, Shaz and Kelly. Sorry, Kerry. So you guys have, this is the need a feed, right? But you're coming up to a big media launch or something, Right. So this is you, Shaz, and then other voices in your business all tweet the same, but you don't all tweet at the same time, the same message, the same moment. You know, it's many voices telling the same story in a different way. That's the different story arcs. And that might be, one of these for you, might be the local paper. One might be Woolworths. You've conned Woolies Twitter into giving you 3 tweets in the week. Can you see what I'm saying? How that might help everybody in the business, in your business. Just plan that out a bit. Because the other thing that stops is you coming in to your business on Tuesday morning and you're going, right, today I'm going to put something on the Facebook page. Okay, and it's 9 o'clock on Tuesday morning, you're really determined to do it. About 10:30 rolls around, you're still looking on the Kardashians' Facebook page, and you haven't really done any work, and you've not planned anything, and then you get up and leave and it's done. You've wasted that time and effort. Instead of saying, Tuesday at 9:45 a.m, I'm not only going to post this on Facebook, but I'm going to put $5 behind it and target these people with it. That's a different story arc. Can everyone see how you might think? I mean, it looks busy and kind of crazy, even for me, but it's actually very easy when you plan out your storytelling that way. Okay. And if you like, I can give Dicko this deck too if you want to have this after. Is that how you work? Yeah. So that's the structure. Then the next problem we have as storytellers is just starting the story. You know, to be able to get people into the story. What happens in a sales environment tends to be, if I'm selling Karen something, or Karen's selling me something, and she comes at me and I know she's going to hit me up with something. She's going to try and sell me something. So I am kind of like this. Going, okay, come on, let's get it over with. It belittles us both, just do it, you know, instead of being open and ready to listen, because she's in sales mode, as we all are all the time. Whereas if she comes up to me and says, I want to tell you a story, then I go, oh, okay, yeah, tell me a story. You can sell to me then, through the story, but I am at ease because everybody loves a story. Who doesn't love a story being told to them, right? But who wants to be sold to? No one. So something as simple as, and I do this at the start of every gig, is I'll say, I'll tell you, I don't know how I did it today, but it'll be something like, I'll tell you a story, or I know this guy, or there's this business that I work with, or something like that. And you can just, and I can see people, because I see everyone, right? And I can see people physically go, shoulders drop, and okay, he's not going to sell us something. He's not going to sell us that book. It's at the back for $29.95. You know, so that's the big difference. That's how you get someone in right from the start. And then, then the structure takes over. And every story that's ever told, branding or otherwise, is told in there's 3 parts to it. The way it was, the way we've changed it, and the way it is now. Or the way it was, the way we are changing it, and the way it will be. Right? But if we extrapolate that out a bit further, you come to this. So when you are a little baby and you're under 1 year old and your brain is forming, there's 1, maybe 2, if you're really lucky, more than 2 people in your life who are your entire world. They're everything to you. They feed you, they bathe you, they keep you warm, they pull stupid faces and make funny noise at you. They're your entire universe. And in that moment, in those moments, when your brain is forming and growing, those people are your life, and those people are telling you stories based on this concept, on this structure. Really simple template about, once upon a time there was 3 bears, or a little girl with golden hair, or a mermaid, who won't be for long. But because that happens when we're a kid, as we grow, then when an adult tells another adult a story based on their branding and stuff in this structure, we accept it, we trust it, and we go, right, okay, tell me a story. I know how this is going to go. Once upon a time, blah, blah, blah. And then every day we did this, but then one day we changed it, and because of that we do this. And because of that, something else has happened until now everyone lives happily ever after. And I think about this structure, those 6 lines, I think about every time I write a tweet or a Facebook post or design a complete video series or a complete website or whatever it might be, big or small, comes down to that for me because I know it works. And I know that I can tell the story, the brand story of any business on earth in an attractive and fun and engaging and convincing and persuasive way if I use that template. I'll give you an example. Actually, let's use you as an example. Who in this room has a business? I have to be careful how I say this. You think it's ace, and you think it's really exciting and interesting and fantastically engaging and interesting, and everyone else thinks it's boring as batshit. Yes, you do. Okay, so, and you said you had trouble with your messaging too, right? So, sorry, what was your first name? Laura, thank you. What's your point of difference? Come on, why you? Everyone can say I am. Personal. No, you just gave me the brochure, but before you gave me the proper answer when you're talking to Dicko and you said lawyers trick people by keeping them dumb and you want to tell them the truth. So, forever and a day, lawyers have been a certain way. And whether they are that way or not, that's the perception of the brand, of the market. They believe them to be a certain way. Every day, they tried to keep their clients in the dark because they had to charge a really good billable. And the only way they could do that was to make you feel dumber than them and to make you feel like they're performing some sort of sorcery you couldn't possibly fathom or manage yourself. And then one day, Laura starts her business, which is Refined Legal, and she decides she's going to change that. She's going to change the way that people perceive lawyers and perceive law, really, and perceive the need for a lawyer, and the involvement of a lawyer in a business and a life is going to change completely because she's going to come at it from a personal angle. She's going to come at it from an angle not of keeping you in the dark and making you a mushroom, making you stupid and making you pay stuff you don't understand, but actually telling you why the billable is the billable. Actually telling you why her 6.5 years at uni mean that she's able to charge that. She's the best at it. She's young, she's using tech, she's using social, she's using everything that you want to use in your own life. She's using that and can communicate with you and your customers better. And because of that, Refined Local grows. And it grows and it grows and it grows. And it not only has a shop in Wollongong, but it's now all over the East Coast, and she's about to open one in Perth as well because people trust it. People know that they still need a lawyer and they still want this stuff done, and they know that it's still going to be expensive, but at least they know what they're paying for. And because of that, and this is the important one, because of that in the capitals, then that means more business people are protected. That means more punters and your customers are protected. That means more people are taking up the proper channels to law instead of dodging around them and getting on a bum down the track. And it means lawyers now are starting to have a different perspective with people. People think of them less as the bottom feeders and more of the people that they really need in their life and they really trust and they have empathy for and they really engage with, and it's because of Laura. Until finally, everyone lives happily ever after. That's how your business grows. Right? We did. Right? Can you see how that takes all the messaging? Like, I don't care that you gave me the brochure before and you're still doing that a bit, right? I don't want that. If I want a lawyer, if I need a lawyer, then I need a lawyer. It's not like I need jeans or I need food. If I need you, I really, really need you. And so I want to know that I can trust. I'm happy for you to pay whatever your billable is. I'm happy to pay that if you tell me what it's for. And if you tell me I absolutely cannot do it on my own, then I will pay you whatever you want. Right? If I trust you, if I know who you are. The only way that I'm going to know who you are is if you step out from behind that brand and Refined Legal becomes Laura, not the other way around. Is that cool? Can everyone else see how you might use that in your own brand? In every bit of messaging. You know, the way the status quo, the way the business always was, whether the industry or the world or the country always was. You know, real estate has always been this way. Every day it's been the same. But one day Gino starts his business and does his point of difference, whatever that is. And because of that, we do this. And then when you get to this one, this is where you include people. This is where you make it about humans. Right? So if you're talking about self-managed super, right? Probably wait a minute, is there any self-managed super? Oh. No, people who sell self-managed super. Like, that's boring as batshit, right? It's really hard to kind of engage people in that. Likewise, I worked with a couple of funeral clients. Really hard to message because you don't think about it and you even don't want to think about it when you need to. But that then becomes, of the self-managed super, one day we decided to make it all online and make it customer focused. And because of that, our business grew. But because of that, it meant more people had created and saved and preserved wealth for their children, which means communities grow, which means, capacity grows in the community, which means there's happier communities, which means there's less mental illness, which means there's less male suicide because of self-managed super. You see how you get there? If you make it about humans. Your storytelling must be about humans, regardless of how staid or boring you think your business or your messaging is. It's always about humans. Okay. So what's your story? Are you ready? Are you thinking any differently about your story to when you walked in this morning? I really hope that's true, even if it's just a little thing. I'd love you to just think differently about one thing and for that to be it. For you to be able to say, if you go back to what you wrote at the start, and if it's still the same, I haven't done a very good job. So let's revisit that. Oh, in a second. Oh, this is white and it's not really... Anyway, I should have known that. But this is the 5 things that I think will help you tell your story and also make you better at storytelling and better at being in business. Now, I don't mean making more money, but better at being somebody's wife or somebody's husband or someone's father or someone's son who happens to be in business. The first thing, as you may or may not be able to see there, is openness. So these are all Ness words, the 5 Ness words. And the first one is openness. When I worked at Facebook, the CEO of Facebook was a young bloke called Mark Zuckerberg. And every Friday arvo, at 4 p.m, local time in the Valley, he would do an hour of Q&A, open Q&A, where everybody who's at the campus in the Valley, you could go and sit in the auditorium in front of me, about 4,000 people would do that. And then you could dial in from all the regional offices as well. And he would make the directors, the 14 directors of the company, come in on Friday hours, and they sit in the front row, and you can ask them anything too. And then all the heads of business had to sit there, and you could ask them anything, but everyone just asked Zuck everything, because why would you ask someone else? Like, there he is. And in your first week, in your orientation week, you sit just behind all the directors. It might be 10 people, it might be 100 people, it might be 7 people, whatever it is, and you're encouraged to ask Zuck something too, but of course you don't, because you just you're like, is this Disneyland? Where am I? Like, this is just the most weird thing ever after a week of it. But the point of it is that I don't know too many CEOs of billion-dollar companies who stand up in front of their entire workforce and say, have a go. Ask me anything you like. I said to you that I was there and that I was on the campus the week that we bought Instagram, and it was brutal. The asking me anything was brutal that day, because people literally, he gets up and he's like, okay, this is what's happening this week, maybe 4 or 5 minutes of what we're rolling out, Yeah, so here we go, Q&A, ask me anything. First guy stands up and he goes, Zuck, Instagram, what the fuck? Everyone was like, yeah, what? And he went, we're terrible at photos and video, and we want to buy those people. And everyone was like, not happy with that, but you haven't made too many mistakes, so we'll wait and see. And he was right, of course. But the sense of sitting in that room or dialing in and being able to ask the CEO of that billion-dollar company something which affected you and anything you liked was not only incredibly inclusive, but it was so empowering. You really felt like, the chip's been activated by then anyway. You've drunk the Kool-Aid well and truly by that time. But if you hadn't, that gets you in. And I wonder if that's the business that you're operating, or if that's how your customers feel about you. If they feel like they could ask you anything, or if they feel like you're behind a wall. Because if they feel like they can ask you anything, then they're included and they're empowered in your brand, which means they're far more likely to give you money. Far more likely. If you know that you're approachable and whatever, and unless you're on holidays or unless you're in de-hustle time, ask you anything, that's pretty empowering. So that's the first thing, is just an openness. The second thing then is boldness. Boldness is the sexiest trait a human being can possibly have. Boldness is so attractive and so compelling that you can almost get away with anything. You can persuade anyone of anything if you're bold about it. If you're meek about it, meek is crap. But bold is like, I'm going with the bold dude, right? But there's a line where boldness becomes arrogance. And it's a really thin line, actually. And I've crossed over it a few times in my life. But up to that point is incredibly attractive. Boldness is saying, I'm a young woman who lives in Wollongong, thanks, Megan, and I'm a lawyer, and I'm going to change the face of how you see lawyers. And I'm going to have 20 branches in Australia and New Zealand by the end of 2018. And if you tell me that, I go, all right, let's see that. I'm with you. I'm on that journey with you, right? Whereas if you go, oh, I'm a lawyer, I'm pretty much like every other one, and I'm just hoping that I've got my one practice still open in a few years. I go, see ya. I'm going with someone else. But if you then go, I'm the best thing that's ever happened to law, and if you don't come with me, you are wasting your time and you're going to go broke. That's this side. You see how there's a very fine line, right? But boldness is super attractive, and we don't do it enough. And this is the only time I'll ever make a gender-specific comment in this presentation, but women are particularly poor at being bold in business in Australia. And you can hate on me for that, but it's true. We, unfortunately, because actually, you're the ones who should be bold, because not only are you running a business, you may or not be running a family and a household and yourself and everyone else is around you as well. Men don't do that. We're staying the course, man. Don't talk to me about anything else. I've got to do this. Right? So boldness is incredibly valuable and incredibly sexy and incredibly rare. Let's make it not that. The third word then is mindfulness. Now, forgive me, you probably already know I'm the lefty hippie, right, by now, but I just feel like if we're connected to ourselves in a regular and concentrated and purposeful way, then we're going to be much more connected to our market, to our customers, to our market opportunities, to everything else. The only way to do that is to be mindful. And by that I mean to concentrate on where you are in the moment at the moment. For me, if I'm not... Now, I meditate a lot, right? But I don't sit cross-legged and close eyes for 20 minutes meditate. I've got 4 children that are 7 years old, right? So for me, it's traffic lights and ad breaks. If I'm sitting watching TV, an ad break comes on, I can think for 5 to 10 seconds, I'm meditating. I say, right, I can feel the lounge under my bum. I can hear someone telling me a story that's gone on for 45 minutes and still hasn't finished. That's my 4-year-old. I can hear the TV, I can hear something else, I'm okay. I'm in the present moment. Or if I pull up in a traffic lights, red light, I can do the same. I can hear the radio, I can hear the birds chirping, I can hear the kids throwing things at each other in the back, I'm okay. For me, and my mental health especially, all the trouble for me is in the past and absolutely in the future. I'm 2 weeks ahead of bad news, right? Something bad is going to happen to me today. I'll guarantee it. So, but in the present moment, nothing's happening. In the present moment, and each second, if I concentrate on the present moment right now, I haven't hurt anybody and no one has hurt me. I haven't used anything I shouldn't because of my addiction and nobody has suffered because of that. I haven't told a lie. I haven't cheated anyone. No one's physically or emotionally hurt me in that moment. And this moment, and this one. That being present is such a wanky thing we hear all the time, but oh God, it saved me. It saved my life. It's literally saved my life. So I feel like if there's something as powerful as that can be gained from 5 seconds sitting at a red light, then what can we do when we transfer that into our business thoughts? The biggest thing we can do is just be mindful of what the market's saying, where it's going, what it's doing, not being left behind by something, not being too afraid to get ahead of something. If you're not mindful and present at that moment, you'll never get there. The fourth one is the second most important one for me, and that's happiness. Why is happiness, A, so hard to get, and B, so hard to celebrate? You know, there's so much in our life, in our business life, in our personal life, in my personal life, I should speak in the I, it's my personal life. There's so much that I want to be happy about, and then when I am, I won't tell anyone. For me, it's because if I tell anyone, it will go away, or someone will take it from me, or I'll fuck it up somehow. But for other people, it might just be, it's difficult to be happy when you're just on the hustle, or when people want stuff from you, or when you don't feel like you're enough. But God, happiness it's got to be the key. It's got to be our goal. Because it's wonderful. And you only have to know how wonderful it is by looking at a 2-year-old. When a 2-year-old is happy, there is nothing better. Every part of them is happy. It's like their fingers are happy, you know? Like, that happiness is just so great. The other thing for a 2-year-old is not that great. But when they're happy, my God, that's so attractive. And imagine if we could do that not only as adults, but as business people. If someone walks in the door of your business and they see the 2-year-old in us, wow, that would be great. And the last one is the secret weapon for me. It's the most important one. It's the one a few people in this room have heard me bang on about a lot, and that's kindness. Kindness is the single most underrated business tool a small business can have, because it's free and it's rare. It's so rare that when someone does something kind for you, you're either cynical about it, or you're like, wow, thank you, that never happens. That's so nice of you. I really appreciate that. And that can be, in your business, that can be a handwritten note, or it can be, I don't know, some wacky little free thing. It can just mean treating people kindly, treating people authentically. Authenticity is kind. But we don't do it because Gary Vaynerchuk, this is no offense to Gary, but people like that tell you it's about growth. And it's about building your business, and you can't do that unless you're doing 20 hours a day. And you can't do that unless you never go and cuddle your kids. And they're going to have to just wait until you build your business, and then they'll be happy. Well, you or them could get hit by a bus in that meantime, or they could be gone. And as someone whose marriage very, very nearly ended a year ago because of my selfishness and all of that stuff of not being kind, I can tell you that a few well-placed bits of kindness can arrest a whole heap of bad shit that you've done or that you might do. Kindness is the key, man. Kindness wins. And the biggest thing about kindness in your business is that you're never going to lose business by being kind. You're only ever going to gain it. No one is going to go, I'm so sick of going in that shop. They're so fucking kind to me. It drives me crazy. Or no one ever says to you, oh, will you just stop being so bloody kind? Right? You're only going to embolden people and attract people into your life and into your business if you're kind. It's just the simplest thing ever. So, let's revisit your little piece of paper that we had at the start. And I want to see, it might not change because you might have done a really good job at the start, and I hope that's true. But write down for me what you do. Go. Yours shouldn't change. Or maybe. And if there's anyone who doesn't, is there anyone who doesn't know someone else in the room? They've never spoken to somebody else in the room. It has to be, right? Right. So, in the next break, let's just try this out. Not in a, oh, hello, BNI way. I don't want you to do that. But I do want you to just, maybe if someone does say, oh, hello, I'm Nick, what do you do? See which one you go with. I was talking to Alex before about, when I asked you this question first, what do you do? And I guarantee, every time I do this, half the room goes, Because the first thing is what they do. The second thing that they write down is what they think I want them to write down. Or what they think the world thinks they want to write down, right? The very first thing that comes into your brain is what I want you to write. So that's the first question. The second question is, what do other people say you do? This probably might not change, but I'd like to see you. Has anyone changed? It's probably the only one who doesn't change, actually. Because you don't know what other people's changed, right? But this one should be good. How happy are you with your messaging? In comparison to how happy you were before. Okay? And these two shouldn't change, hopefully. But I want you to think about this because it's important when you leave here and when you see other people and you start to say to people, I feed people, or what do you do? No, I don't care that you're a lawyer, right? Or a greengrocer or a web designer. I don't care. For me, that's how many buttons this has. What do you do, Laura? Who knows what Laura does? Not always. Makes people safe. Yep. But even if you're reviewing a contract, you're still a problem solver. You solve problems. Now, we're all doing a lot of free mentoring here for Laura, but I don't want you to stop thinking about yourself either, because I guarantee you that you all got that wrong the first time I asked you. Oh, maybe if you've seen me do this before, you might not have got. You might have been a bit heads up, but we can do better than that. Really, we can. All right, 3 things I want to leave you with are the 3 things I live by. And it sounds so Tony Robbins. Sorry, I didn't mean that to be stand up and we'll clap. But the first thing is, I think the opposite of fear isn't courage. I think the opposite of fear is curiosity. And as a business person, I think curiosity is the best thing we can have. Because if you're not curious, you're never going to try, you're never going to change, you're never going to take a risk, right? You're always going to sit in whatever you've been dealt. And I can tell you that curiosity does conquer fear much more than bravery does. I really encourage you in the next 4 weeks, say, as you leave here and start to think about what you do and how you stand out, how to make yourself stand out, which the other 3 of us have banged on and will bang on about this weekend for you. Think about where curiosity fits in that. Are you pushing yourself? Are you stretching yourself? Or are you sitting in the same thing you've sat in since 1997 and you will be in 2027? Get curious. The second one is then, I'm not a perfectionist. In all of the madness in my head, of which there's plenty, perfectionism, thank God, is not one of them. But who is that? Who's the perfectionist? Put your hand up real proud. Right? These people are not only driving themselves crazy, but they're also shitting every single person who interacts with them in their life. Perfectionists, you need to stop it. Because it's the most futile thing you'll ever chase. Right? The most futile thing you'll ever chase. You are driving yourself mad, maybe literally, and everyone else around you doesn't care either. And you are so focused on, I know some people, I've spoken to some people who didn't launch their business, their small business, for more than 6 months because they couldn't get the right colour blue on their website. The right hex code of the blue was just not right. Like, you are killing me. Nobody cares about that. And for the 6 months you've been deciding on that blue, how much money have you made? Donuts. How much money might you have made if there was the wrong blue? Some. Right? That chase for perfectionism is just mental. And instead of that, I try not to be perfect, but I try to be valuable. I just try to add value. And you'll potentially add a lot more value to your community and your business and your family and yourself by not trying to be perfect as being perfect. And I'm married to a perfectionist too, full disclosure. And the last question I want to leave you with is the best question you'll ever ask yourself. And it's the hardest one to answer. Is what would you do if you weren't afraid? If curiosity conquers fear, and I can encourage you to be curious about something, what would you do? And I've done a few of these, but Jesus, I have a lot of them and I haven't, that I would do if I wasn't scared of it. A lot. So I want to finish with that because I think I'm not going to ask you to write it down or anything else. But I would encourage you, as I do, to have this as part of your day. This is my morning. What will I do today if I wasn't afraid? And 98.5% of the days, I don't do it, whatever it is. But geez, when I do, it's wonderful. For instance, 7 months ago, I decided, as a 44-year-old as I was then, I decided I might give boxing a go. Might give this boxing thing a crack, right? So now I have had 3 amateur fights and I've learned how to box. Well, I'm learning how to box. It's a bit extreme to say I know how to box. But before I started that, it scared the crap out of me. And you know what? Now it doesn't. I don't like getting punched in the face. That's different to being scared of it, right? So that's one thing where I woke up and thought it and did it. One thing. But every other day almost, I think of, I'd really like to work for Airbnb. I'd really like to consult with Airbnb. And if I wasn't afraid of it, I would make it happen. I know 3 people who work in recruiting at Airbnb. But I'm scared of it. I'm scared they're going to go, oh, you just want to work there because you've worked at Facebook and Twitter, you just want another shirt to make your resume better. Or or they're going to look into, because the other thing I have is the imposter syndrome that tells me I'm actually rubbish and today's the day you'll find out. So they'll look into my resume and they'll know that they'll ask someone at Facebook and they say, I don't know what he did. He just turned up every day and it was rubbish. Right? So there's lots of things that create that fear. But bloody hell, if we could get past that, imagine what you could achieve. Imagine what you could achieve if you just did something that scared the shit out of you every day. Right. So I want to leave it there. I'm going to have some time for a question. I think we've got a few minutes for questions, yeah? But I want to thank you for 2 things. First of all, I want to thank you for investing in yourself as business people. So few of us do this. So few of us. To be able to come, whether you're part of Steve's tribe or not, and you just come to this event, so few people take the time out of their life and out of their business to actually be better business people. But when we do that, the rising tide lifts all boats, right? For us to sit here and be better business people, it means that we make small business better. And that is a responsibility and a wonderful outcome, both in the same hit. So I want to thank you for investing in yourself and actually working harder to be a better person in your business. That's a fantastic thing. Secondly, I just really want to thank you for giving me your fun and undivided attention. It's been really great interactive like that. And I'm happy to answer any questions, but I really do appreciate your time and for listening to me bang on for 3 hours and for coming in all. So thank you very much.
Awesome.